Hey guys, something big is brewing in the market this week. Definitely looking at tariffs. They're heating up. There's earnings from some of the biggest AI companies in the world that are about to drop, and the ripple effect could either open up massive opportunities or catch some of us off guard. Now, I'm here in Kauai, but one thing to note is we'll still be going live tomorrow morning at Market Open. If you want to see my entries and my exits, we have that Easter sale that's $200 off. It's a huge discount. Second link in the description. If you want to take advantage of that, we'll be going live tomorrow morning and would love to have you there at Market Open. Now, let's take a look. There's a few big earnings that we're looking at. We have Tesla, which has been consolidating from left to right. It's actually funny. We drew these lines a while back, but it's still, it actually made this move after we drew this resistance. So Tesla stock has been making some moves. One of the things we do oftentimes inside of Stockmate, if you guys aren't familiar, Stockmate is where we share all of our targets, the different analysis for each company. And we have Tesla reporting after hours on Tuesday some of our catalysts that we're looking at for the company, progress on the robotaxi and Optimus AI robots. When it comes down to Tesla's opportunity in the market, you have to think about basically, what about Waymo? You guys see Waymo? We just recently took a trip to a quantum computing conference, and Waymo was driving people around. No driver, driverless, autonomous driving, Ubering people around essentially. Now, if the autonomous robotaxis become fully deployable in the US, then we're going to see most Tesla owners renting out their taxis, their Teslas as taxis, and it's going to open up a huge market taking on Uber and others. So that's a huge market opportunity, and we're going to see what progress they've made towards that. There's also some margin concerns due to EV price cuts and, of course, the tariff impact. There was a short time where I think it was 100% tariff on EVs into Canada. There's obviously the Chinese market, even though they have a gigafactory there. You have to look at that if they're going to be maybe sending any of the Teslas from there to the US. You got to think about the imports, exports, things like that. We'll see how that affects. So there's Tesla, there's Google, we got Lockheed Martin, there's a few targets we have there, and Merck as well, the partnered company with Palantir. And you can take a look at some of the earnings for this week. So when it comes down to what we'll be watching in the tech space, a lot of times if you have good earnings from Tesla or let's say Intel or Alphabet, Google or T-Mobile, that's going to indicate more of an investor confidence. And most likely if we see some positive earnings from those companies, IBM is in there as well, RTX, then we and GE, we start to see some growth in the markets and a nice recovery. So this is actually one of the biggest earnings weeks that we haven't had in a while, right? So a couple weeks go by, if we go back, to earlier, there wasn't a lot of earnings last week, for example, that made a lot of sense. Like we had Netflix, okay, Taiwan Semiconductor. That was about it. Yeah, that was about it. Not a lot of the big tech companies reporting earnings, but this week, huge week. Again, we're going to see what happens if we get some nice recorded earnings and they match some of our targets. It's going to be a lot of opportunities to make money in the market this week. So, a couple things. When it comes to Tesla, you can see this rejection that's happening, but it is starting to push up recently and it's trying to hold above that 200-day moving average. It's struggling a little bit, but if we see a bounce here, seeing this $270 range or above could happen very quickly, and especially if they have some good earnings this week, I think seeing a recovery into these levels could happen quite easily. That's about a 40% increase. Now, we might not even trade Tesla. We might trade TSLL, which moves. You can see it's the exact same pattern. However, whenever Tesla goes up 1%, this company goes up 2% or down 2%. And it's not a company, it's an index stock that, as you can see, it's down recently, but like same thing. This is how Tesla stock looks. When you had the spike from October to mid-December, that was a 360% swing on TSLL, whereas when you look at the swing on Tesla, it would be about half that, so right around 125%. So those are some of the swings we like to trade. TSLL, I love to personally look at some of the shorter terms, not anything I would hold, because there are some fees on the yearly of 1%, I believe it is, or might be quarterly. So I don't recommend holding TSLL as it is higher leverage, but we will be looking to trade that one as well. Now, when it comes down to some of the moves in the market, you could see some of maybe the recoveries that could happen there with Tesla. You could see some of the recoveries that we could potentially see in the quantum market. But what we're really looking at this week is overall market direction. Because if we start to see good earnings come out, and we'll see where tariffs go, there's a few things we're considering this week, especially with tariffs recently. I had some notes written down that this week, one of the impacts that is going to be a really close thing to watch is the bullish targets that we have. They're nice, but what strategies can we have if they aren't nice? What if we don't have bullish targets? What if the market doesn't react positively this week? Well, there's some sectors of the market that will most likely trade if we see the market sell off this week. Those markets, of course, we're going to monitor the earnings reports. We're going to pay close attention. It's possible that some of these major corporations and big tech, their performance is going to be very good and provide some insights into the economy and see, okay, we're looking good. But if the broader trend might be lower net income, lower percentage increases, or things like that, then those indicators that we'll be watching, including Federal Reserve communications recently, we're going to have to watch those, how they impact the near term. The short term, if we see a market sell-off, we might potentially be looking at either inverse of some of big tech, or we'll be looking in semiconductors. Semiconductors, we have some positions in semiconductors. SOXS is inverse. So when tariffs get impacted, and what happens? Less shipping opportunities, less ability for the US to get semiconductors from other countries at a cheap rate, meaning semiconductor companies are going to see a hit as a result of these tariffs. They're probably not going to get maybe as much orders. It's going to be more expensive, things like that. Then mean that the semiconductor market would sell off. So we're going to be looking for things like that. Semiconductor market potentially selling off. If big tech's not doing so hot, we will see a sell-off in semiconductors, so we'll be watching there. When it comes to space tech, you got Lockheed Martin, you have Boeing reporting earnings this week. So Lockheed Martin, for example, I mean, we could go back 1 year here and see they've massively pulled back, but they do look like they're kind of on sale. So these earnings, we saw them just back in November up to $618. The technology that I was seeing at the Space Symposium in Colorado seemed very bullish. So guys, you see this trend. It's quite consistent, and you can see this rising support. You can also see this rising, the higher highs that are getting developed on Lockheed Martin. So let's say that Lockheed Martin does have some potential recoveries here, just as they have consistently for essentially the past 3-5 years. If they have some good earnings and we start to see a market recovery, this would be a 25 to 26% recovery, getting up to these levels, continuing some of the trend that they've had going here. Really, this is going back to 2017. I mean, this is how it's been with the company. And so that's why we have some of the targets that we have over here. And they're reporting earnings over on Tuesday morning. So Lockheed Martin, you got Boeing on Wednesday. Same day on Tuesday after hours, you got Tesla. So those are going to be key earnings. Some of the other key earnings, American Airlines, Some people trade Chipotle quite a bit. I'm not too big on Chipotle as far as trading, but they're not too bad. You got IBM and Google. And if we start to get momentum through some of these earnings, they look good, and then Google comes in with some good earnings, we could see very nice market recoveries, I believe, here in the near term. So we'll just have to watch. We'll have to see what that looks. Stay informed on some of these economic indicators. Keep an eye on some of the key economic reports. We just had a Fed meeting this last week. Nothing really big that came out of it. And then you have Trump that wants Powell out of the Fed, but there's a reason he can't do that. It's because it's not an executive order that you can do. It's a private party developed really by the Rockefellers and JP Morgan, so they're not going to be able to touch the Fed. So Trump is studying whether to fire Fed. I don't even know why how are they going to fire him? They can't fire him. I don't know what that means. But anyway, they're in wait and see mode right now. So we're going to gauge the direction of some monetary policy. If they cut interest rates, they do the opposite, and its potential impact on the markets. But again, the trade policy, you want to stay up to date on some of these tariffs, the negotiations and implementations that affect semiconductors or big tech or some of the consumer goods. We saw for a minute there, electronics, 0 tariffs. That's really big indication there could be some potential for us to capitalize on swings in the semiconductor market. And anything that happens over the next few weeks in tariffs, they're going to significantly influence the market sentiment and a lot of our economic performance, really. But at the same time, we don't want to look at all the news articles. Like I just went to the Fed. We're not really looking at the news articles. We're going to look simply at the numbers that come out in these earnings. We're going to look simply at what the market does when reacting to some of the tariff announcements and policies, as well as the actual moves by the Fed, but not necessarily listening to any news that is commentary or narrative around certain things, but simply playing the numbers. It's simply looking at how the market reacts to policy and financial reports. So that's how we're going to play it, and that's what's allowed us to still grow our account even in a down market. And I believe that in this market environment, it has extra vigilance that's needed. You don't have as many consistent trends, but some of the trends that we're seeing due to the recent pullback, they put us in a better position to invest with potentially less risk and be able to capitalize on the opportunities that are being presented. So I really look forward to that. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. If you did, make sure to leave a like. If I earned it, do consider subscribing. And again, if you guys want to join us at Market Open tomorrow, we have our Easter sale for today, Sunday. If you want to take advantage of that, get a special discount I've left there in the second link down below. Would love to have you there in our market live session tomorrow. Not only do you get the market live session, you get to see our entries, exits, you get to surround yourself with other investors and traders that are all like-minded and investing in the markets. On top of that, you get those reports and targets that I just showed you here earlier in this video. There's also a great book there that's on emotional IQ, navigating some of these markets. And I'm excited to share with you guys some new tools in there as well. Oh, and also you get this free t-shirt. That's included in lifetime access. Second link below again. So thank you guys so much for tuning in. I appreciate you all. I'll see you guys in the next video. Take care.